In a previous video, we delved into the 11 principles of propaganda. However, there's always additional material left unexplored due to time constraints. In this instance, we specifically omitted discussions on Soviet propaganda and its renowned posters, which played a pivotal role in disseminating Marxist-Leninist ideas during the post-1917 revolutionary era. Totalitarian societies enforce general and absolute censorship, eliminating any space for freedom. In the case of communist totalitarianism, the situation is exacerbated as, apart from suppressing individual freedoms through violence, their absolute ownership of the means of production curtails human life at its most fundamental level. In communist societies, the state dictates elements such as your diet, attire, reading material, education, and essentially, your entire way of life. Soviet communists and their global counterparts laid the groundwork for an oppressive form of governance that is almost impossible to replicate under a different modern ideological system. Only the foundational principles of communism can foster such a strictly totalitarian regime. The severity of the Soviet system is exemplified by the punishment for deviation, particularly during the Lenin-Stalin era, where ideological diversionism was met with death or internment in Gulag concentration camps. Subsequently, in the 1950s, there was a cynical softening. Instead of execution, dissenters were confined to mental institutions, subjected to psychiatric treatments, or imprisoned. Few societies have experienced the presence of prisoners of conscience, individuals detained not for political acts but for their thoughts, readings, or expressions. At the onset of the 20th century, 80% of the Soviet population was illiterate. This underscores the crucial role played by posters in communist propaganda, offering a more affordable means of communication compared to film or radio, which required technologies unavailable to the impoverished and illiterate masses. The younger generation, accustomed to the immediacy of the digital age, may not fully grasp the significance of posters. Nonetheless, well into the 1990s, posters retained their importance in marketing due to their cost-effectiveness and broad reach. It was common to see posters adorning spaces for political parties or rock bands, but this practice gradually waned with the rise of the internet, marking the disappearance of various analog resources. In the early years, a collective of young artists and designers emerged with a dedicated vision of art. They believed that the emerging society required a distinct language, and this conviction manifested in the early years of posters with an aesthetically intriguing exploration. Beyond the uniform message dictated by the Communist Party, artists discovered new forms of expression, rejecting bourgeois art and playing with graphic elements, typography, and constructivist geometries as a pretext for political messaging. Post this initial period, the Soviet poster entered a diminished phase under Stalin's rigid control, transforming into uninspiring Soviet puppets conforming to the style of the socialist realism. This style, emphasizing the cult of personality, was later adopted by Chinese and Korean communism. It marked a departure from artistic experimentation, fully aligning with the party's mandates not only in content but also in form. Stalin's regime viewed any non-figurative pictorial style not crudely exalting the socialist system with suspicion and alarm. Every piece had to pass through the hands of censors. Ultimately, the Soviet poster's influence extended to fascist and Nazi propaganda, as well as socialist satellites. Even half a century later, this influence reached Cuban posters and those from the 1979 Sandinista revolution. Soviet propaganda, coupled with state and Communist Party violence, successfully sustained this social experiment from 1917 until the dissolution of the 15 socialist republics in 1991. However, neither propaganda nor violence could permanently erase the sense of freedom in the Russian people. History will continue its unpredictable course, and its end remains elusive. Let's move beyond the mirages to discover the deeper truths. Thank you very much for your company, and always remember, live and let live.